documents. I don't think that's what we want, but that's what the reality is. And I'm going to pass to Angie.
So this is a complicated question because it's very fact specific and geographical specific. So fact specific, the reason is if the child was born of a marriage, a same-sex marriage, it's presumed to be a child of the marriage. If the genetic material belongs to wife 1 and she gave it to wife 2, wife 1 would never be considered a parent, even though the genetic material that created the child is hers. However, if a known donor gave sperm, which takes a nanosecond, that person would be a bio parent in Michigan. So again, it's very fact specific towards the geographical location. In New York, if you contributed in a sperm bank, even if it was known, that person would still have no rights. So again, you have to ask a lot more questions about it. Some of the issues is about portability. You know, if you create a document in Tennessee or Michigan, is it going to have legitimacy in another state? That's something we need to think about. The thing that's ironclad pretty much is adoption. Why would you want to do an adoption if you have a birth certificate, the child was of the marriage, you bought the sperm? Because the problem is when you get to estate planning and Social Security benefits, the problem is the statute says blood or legal relation. Now, a birth certificate is not a legal relation. A marriage is not a legal relationship because it's a presumption. If somebody comes forward and say, hey, gee, I had sex with wife 2 and that baby's mine, and they do a paternity, and yeah, he was the known donor, you've got a problem. So again, you want to, have a complete conversation with your client. National Center for Lesbian Rights and Lambda Legal Defense is now recommending that people who are in same-sex marriages do the second parent adoption, do the other piece. Because in my case, for example, I'll give you a personal story. My kids are twins. 17 years ago, they were born. We were not able to get married. So we had children that we could not I could not have a legal relationship with. And so when they were 8, we were able to get married in the state of Connecticut. And I had that piece of paper that says I'm the adoptive parent. Doesn't feel so great, but when we moved to Michigan and my marriage wasn't recognized, I was the legal parent of this child. If I die, these children get my Social Security. If I didn't have the adoption, they can't get my Social Security. They can't get a plethora of other benefits that all children should get. So those are the challenges for LGBTQ families in reference to the child adoption. And if the person was married before and there's a bio father, very uphill battle.
Thank you so much to both Maureen and Angie for these wonderful opinions on this question. I would like to take the last question of this very special evening. In the US, I think the media, that is the TV shows, celebrities, etc., contributed to the acceptance of LGBT marriage. Are there prominent celebrities that can start to unravel that majority moral fabric?
So while I agree with the writer that, whenever you have people like Ellen DeGeneres that come forward and celebrities that support marriage and support LGBT and support transgender issues, support non-binary, it's also helpful. But at the same time, we have to be mindful because people like Caitlyn Jenner, who had the money to do all the various things she did, many transgender people, especially transgender people of color, do not. And it establishes a barrier because it's assumed, oh, this is the standard. And that's a standard is so far beyond all of us that it's an impossible standard to reach. And again, we're talking about normalcy. People want this, well, how's it look? What's it going to look like? And we're all so different and diverse that it creates a barrier for all of us. And, I think we got to be careful on that little one.
If anyone wants to add on to that answer.
This is Maureen. I agree with Angie that you have to be very careful whenever you are speaking on, essentially suggesting that you're speaking on behalf of a full community when your voice is a portion of that community. And I think that's always something that to be mindful of. I do think, of course, it helps to have individuals others who are less educated, to Najid's point, who don't have the opportunity maybe to have access to information, no fault of their own. You see someone who is a celebrity who comes out and says positive things about the LGBTQ community, that helps. It is not the end, as Angie mentions. It's a portion. And it's something to always be mindful of, to do it in a manner that is respectful to all of the voices of our very diverse community.
If I can add a last point, I think it's helpful to also people see, like, in the beginning, in the 60s, we saw people of color in TV programs. So when we start to see people that are like us in regular programming, that helps a lot.
I think I would like to ask Kim ma'am to make concluding remarks for the whole session.
Just really briefly, I want to thank everybody for the conversation and for participating, for accepting the invitation and being willing to, in the case of Angie and Maureen, get up early in the morning and, and show up. And Najid, it's nice to meet you. And I hope we see you again in future programs. This has been really great. I'm looking forward to sharing it on social media and spreading the word. And this is a series. So next month, we're actually going to be doing some.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for all of you for joining us today evening. It has been a pleasure to host this event. Signing off today this evening is Mohammed Kansi. Thank you so much. We have the next question coming in from Arvind Upadhyay. What are the challenges of LGBTQ families with reference to child adoption? I would particularly like to mention this question to Maureen because of her expertise in these cases.
Stop LGBT being families, and so there's this constant war that Angie mentioned, and so to protect many individuals do show documents. I don't think that's what we want, but that's what the reality is.
So this is a complicated question because it's very fact and specific. So fact specific, the reason is if the child is born of a marriage, the same is child of the marriage. If the genetic material belongs to her and she gave it to wife one would never be considered a parent, even though the genetic material of the child is however donor takes a nano, that person would be a bio parent in Michigan. It is very big towards the geographical location. In New York, if you contributed it in a sperm bank, that person got more questions about it. Some of the issues is about portability. If you create a document in Tennessee or Michigan, is it going to have legitimacy in another state? That's something we need to think about. The thing that's ironclad, pretty much, is adoption. Why would you want to do an adoption if you have a birth certificate, the child was of the marriage, you bought the sperm? Because the problem is when you get to estate planning and Social Security benefits, the problem is the statute says blood or legal relation. Now, a birth certificate is not a legal relation. A marriage is not a legal relationship because it's a presumption. If somebody comes forward and say, hey, gee, I had sex
10 सेकंड लेट चालतं ना.
हे बंद करून ठेवायचं तुला माहिती असेल तसं. डबल इंटरनेट कन्झ्युम होतं ना
ते पण चालू राहतं. याच्यात गोरा दिसतोय रे तू.
स्टाईल बघ ना.
हॅपन लवर. चल बालू जेवण करून येऊ आपण तुझ्या आयटम खायला जाऊन. तू नाही जेवणार सकाळी काय खाणार तू का.
नाही खायचं